This is CBC Vancouver News.
We think this is a deal that addresses the priorities our members set for us.
A tentative deal is reached, but some businesses affected by the strike say the damage has already been done.
The impact on the industry is catastrophic.
Plus,
commercial farms across the Fraser Valley and the province right now are in biosecurity lockdown.
half a dozen avian flu cases have hit farms in Chilliwack and Abbotsford over the past few days. Farmers worry about a repeat of last year. And
I wish it happened sooner because maybe some of our friends would still be here.
we take you to Courtney, home to the island's newest overdose prevention site. Good evening, I'm Tanya Fletcher. Thanks for joining us. Nearly 2 months later, picket lines have come down and BC's public sector employees are poised to return to work. Their union has struck a tentative deal with the provincial government following a week of mediated talks. It brings relief to affected business owners, but also nervousness about a looming backlog. The CBC's Janella Hamilton has our top story tonight.
We're incredibly happy with this deal.
The BC GEU says the tentative deal includes a 3% wage increase each year over the next 4 years.
We think this is a deal that addresses the priorities our members set for us when bargaining started.
In a statement, BC's Finance Minister Brenda Bailey saying she's also pleased. Still, frustration remains for businesses caught in the crosshairs.
They are just using us as leverage, which is not fair.
At Lemez Calleria, where they rely on imported spirits, sales are significantly down and staff have been laid off. The co-owner says they're now in survival mode.
60% of my sales are liquor, and the fact that we are not able to get the liquor has been affecting us so much.
And for the industry that imports that liquor, the strike has left sales at a standstill.
The impact of that is millions and millions of dollars of inventory sitting that's been prepaid for, incurring storage fees, on businesses that have zero way to operate. The impact on the industry is catastrophic.
She says even with news of a tentative agreement, some BC-owned importers are already considering closure or bankruptcy.
This is the busiest time of year. It's when more than up to 50% of the entire year's sales happen.
There is no exact timeline on when operations at the liquor distribution branch will return to normal, but experts say those warehouses will be inundated with orders, which could lead to up to 5 months of backlog.
We expect the day they come back to work about 8,000 or 9,000 orders all at one time for about 700,000 or 800,000 cases of product. In our view, the system's going to collapse.
Picket lines are already down, and the union says employees will be back to work Monday, with members set to vote on the tentative deal next week. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
And tonight, the Professional Employees Association, that's a separate union representing nearly 2,000 public service professionals, says it has also reached a return to work agreement and will be taking down picket lines as well. Well, the BC's Fraser Valley is seeing a sudden spike in avian flu cases. New infections have hit a number of commercial poultry farms in the past week, dredging up concerns of a bad infection season like last year. As our Kier Junos is finding out, farmers are now taking extra precautions.
Poultry at least 5 commercial farms in the Fraser Valley have been stricken with bird flu since Friday, and now serious biosecurity measures are in place to keep the virus from spreading. At least one of the infected farms is here in Abbotsford. I'm near the U.S. border within a large control zone restricting any movement of birds, of poultry products, and farm vehicles in the area. The other infected farms are in Chilliwack.
The BC Poultry Association says the infections are because of migratory bird patterns.
All commercial farms across the Fraser Valley and the province right now are in biosecurity lockdown, code red as we call it.
Egg farmer Mark Seaman says his farm has avoided infection this year, but all of his typically free-range birds are now locked inside. We couldn't meet him on his farm because during a code red, farms limit visitors to essential people only.
That means your gates are closed, every vehicle coming in is disinfected, every worker is doing a change of clothes and making sure they go into the farm clean, and a lot of disinfectant being used everywhere to try to keep that disease out.
Last month, BC's chief veterinary officer ordered all poultry to be kept inside, a preemptive response to several flu cases in Alberta. A veterinary virologist says this particular strain of bird flu was first spotted in late 2021 and became highly infectious, able to jump to some mammals in North America.
Because the virus is carried by wild waterfowl, they are the silent carriers. It's all coincide with the migratory pathways and migratory season.
Each time a commercial flock is infected, all of the birds, sometimes in the thousands, must be culled because of federal rules. Something Siemens and others had to do last year when 81 farms across BC reported infections.
Even just the sound of the farm being shut down, it's a traumatic experience for a farmer. You're used to hearing the fans running and hearing the birds in the background as you're out in your yard, and when that's all gone, it's an eerie feeling.
A feeling of dread shared by many poultry farmers in BC, trying to once again protect their farms from devastating disease. Keir Junos, CBC News, Abbotsford.
The man who rescued himself from the jaws of a grizzly bear in the Kootenays weeks ago has now died in the hospital. 63-year-old Joe Pendry was hunting near Fort Steele when he encountered the bear and her 2 cubs. He shot the mama bear and fought it off, but was severely injured and flown to Kelowna General Hospital. His wife now says he died this weekend from a blood clot. To Kamloops, where an overnight fire has closed an elementary school for several weeks. These flames were spotted on the roof of Westmount Elementary early this morning. The fire was quickly put out, but there is smoke and water damage. Investigators believe someone had been on the roof and that the fire was deliberately set. No one was injured. The extent of the damage is unclear, as is the timeline of when students and staff can return. To the island now, and the health authority there has mobilized a new overdose prevention site in Carney. Advocates say it is desperately needed. Our Marie Seidler has reaction.
Island Health has opened a new overdose prevention site here in Carney. It's just around the corner from the last one. It offers 12 spots for people who inhale drugs. That's in addition to the 2 injection drug booths it already offered.
Because of the toxic drug crisis, we're wanting to be able to provide services that are going to meet the needs of people who are actually using the substances.
The health authority says these days most people inhale substances, and those often include a toxic mix of fentanyl and benzodiazepines.
In the event of an overdose, the staff will respond by hitting a ventilation system, which will suck out any of the substances.
Tasia McLucky helped get the inhalation site off the ground. She says the service is badly needed in the Comox Valley.
I wish it happened sooner because maybe some of our friends would still be here.
As a former drug user and a mother of 2, McLucky says everyone deserves a chance to live another day.
These deaths are preventable, and they are unacceptable.
This is Island Health's 6th drug inhalation site on Vancouver Island. Marie Seidler, CBC News, Carney.
Well, the Blue Jays have been dominating sports headlines, but the Vancouver Whitecaps opened their playoff run with a dominant 3-0 victory over FC Dallas tonight.
It's Muller. He scores.
Daniel Rios scored late in the first half. Thomas Muller added a goal on a 60th minute penalty, and Kenji Cabrera came off the bench to seal the deal in the 83rd minute. Game 2 in the best-of-3 first-round series will be on Saturday in Dallas, and then if necessary, Game 3 will be back here in Vancouver on November 7th. The winner of this series will face either Los Angeles FC or Austin FC in the next round. A South Korean man is pedaling his way all across North America. He's currently on a stretch from Metro Vancouver to Montreal, and he says Canadian kindness is fueling his journey. The CBC's Alana Kelly has his story.
Daring to ride the Sea to Sky Highway with traffic whizzing by is not unusual around here. But Hung Min Ji is not your average rider.
It's really chill, yeah.
He's cycling across North America, starting in British Columbia and going all the way to Quebec.
It's for fun and to know myself more and see my limit.
pushing himself more than 5,000 kilometers.
Around 2 months, or 68 days.
At 28 years old, this South Korean man has pedaled his way through a massive feat already, visiting 26 countries on his bike. He's cycled from Argentina to Alaska, then hitchhiked to Kitwanga and cycled down to Squamish.
BC is amazing, nice people, friendly. They talk to me first, and beautiful nature and drinkable water, so I'm happy with that, yeah.
Powering him through is peanut butter sandwiches and podcasts.
I didn't train at all, just I bought my bike and started cycling.
When he arrived in Canada, BC Hospitality showed up.
They let me sleep in their coach, or they give me a room and I can take a shower and I can do laundry. BC license, that one I got it from local people as well at the semester.
From strangers riding with him to giving him a place to stay, they've all shared their generosity, helping make his goal possible.
I've been helped by so many people, and I really appreciate, and every time when I cycle, I think about these people who helped me.
And when he gets tired and his muscles start aching, he just tells himself,
look where you are in Canada, and you wanna complain because of wind or weather or uphills.
He's also been inspired by a Canadian hero.
And you must know Teddy Fox. When I go back to South Korea, I wanna run whole South Korea for cancer charity.
So if you see him on his bike, don't be a stranger. Say hello, or maybe even join him for a bit of his journey. Elena Kelly, CBC News, Squamish.
An Indigenous-led initiative in the Okanagan has opened a new passage for fish, allowing sockeye salmon access to Okanagan Lake for the first time in nearly a century. As our Brady Strachan is finding out, it's part of a habitat restoration project that's connecting youth with their culture.
Bright flashes of red dot the shallow waters of the Okanagan River near Penticton. Under the surface, hundreds of sockeye salmon dance across gravel beds in their spawning ritual. For decades, sockeye were cut off from these waters by a series of dams, but local Indigenous groups have removed those barriers. And this year, the salmon can pass freely into Okanagan Lake for the first time in nearly a century.
I can't find the words to say how huge it is. One, it's incredibly important for the Syilx Okanagan Nation. It's been almost 100 years since these fish have had the ability to go home to the lake.
It's a major step in the nation's long-term restoration project. Now, migrating salmon have access to 350 square kilometers of cool water and 14 rivers that feed into it, critical spawning habitat.
And then you'll plant your plant.
Natasha Lukey is showing a new generation how to restore salmon habitat. These young adults are from the Syilx Okanagan, Tanaha, and Secwepemc nations. It's part of a program called Salmon Warriors, which has a dual purpose of restoring ecosystems and reconnecting youth with cultural practices.
And they're receiving a hands-on course in applying that knowledge on the landscape. So rather than just hearing about it, being told about it, they're actually out and participating in the activity and the action of doing.
Armed with shovels and seedlings, the group gets to work, planting poplars, rose bushes, and Saskatoon trees, native vegetation that will enrich the creek and bring nutrients back to the ecosystem.
There was generations that never seen salmon come back to these waters in their life. And but those same ones had a hope that the next generation was going to be able to witness that. And here we are, this next generation, and we're seeing salmon return.
This year, fewer fish have returned to spawning grounds, but next year's run is expected to be much stronger, helped by the nation's salmon fry release program.
Since 2017-ish, 16 million sockeye fry have been released into the Okanagan Lake tributaries. 80% of them return to their home tributary where they were released.
As the salmon find their way back to these waters, participants are finding their way back too. Back to culture, to connection, and to hope. Brady Strachan, CBC News in the South Okanagan.
Still to come, playing politics in Malaysia. How Canada's Prime Minister is dealing with Donald Trump overseas in the wake of those anti-tariff ads that touched a nerve. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's talk international politics now. And Canada's Mark Carney has been trying to negotiate a trade deal with the U.S. for months now. But those talks are on hold following the fallout from Ontario's anti-tariff ads. In a moment, we'll have more from Malaysia on Mark Carney's pitch to leaders in Asia. But first, the CBC's JP Tasker hears what some think Carney's next move with Trump should be.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Asia to build new trade ties. But it's the relationship with an old ally that's causing problems. As the U.S. threatens an additional 10% tariff on Canadian exports, Carney says he has a plan.
Building at home, diversifying our trade relationships abroad, and being ready to work with the United States government as and when the time comes.
But senior Trump officials say they don't want to work with Canada right now.
This is a kind of propaganda against U.S. citizens. You know, it's psyops.
They're blaming Ontario Premier Doug Ford for derailing trade talks. The province ran an anti-tariff ad in the U.S. during the World Series, and it hit a nerve.
I just think it was terrible, terrible judgment by this premier, who has a bit of a reputation for being a hothead.
The Prime Minister should be trying to find Donald Trump in the hallways.
Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's point person on the U.S. says Carney has to smooth things over with Trump, and fast. Preferably this week, while they're both at summits in Asia.
We do need to get the talks back on track because steel, aluminum, lumber, auto, they're all suffering badly.
But Canada's former ambassador to Washington says it's time to take a step back from the erratic Americans.
It's going to take us time, and we're going to have to go through pain to get there, but we have to use this moment of crisis once and for all to diversify our economy.
In the U.S., one Democrat is calling Trump's actions an embarrassment.
I think this is a little temper tantrum that a toddler will have and it will blow over.
Senators will vote on a bill to block Trump's tariffs this week, and Democrats say they have enough support to get it through.
The president can be petulant, but the facts and the economic chaos are sort of closing in on him. And I think that will get the president back to the table with Canada.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc was at that table before things went awry. He says the two sides had been making progress and he's ready to engage with them at any moment, insisting in a social media post it's Ottawa, not Ontario, who's responsible for this file. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
On the face of this latest upheaval, Mark Carney is trying to drum up new trade in Southeast Asia, as we heard. But with Donald Trump attending that very same summit, the Prime Minister's focus could be derailed. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian continues our team coverage from Malaysia.
Prime Minister Mark Carney looking to make new allies on his first official trip to Asia.
We value a rules-based system. We respect trade agreements and the rule of law. We value the free exchange of goods, capital, and ideas. We're a natural partner.
A message he repeated during meetings with the leaders of Vietnam, the Philippines, and Laos.
We have much to discuss in deepening our relationship.
U.S. President Donald Trump also in Kuala Lumpur for the summit of Southeast Asian leaders. Making it clear on his way here, he's still upset with Canada over an Ontario TV ad that ran in major U.S. markets containing an excerpt from former U.S. President Ronald Reagan slamming tariffs. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he'll pull the ad Monday.
I'm very disappointed in Canada. They lied. I mean, it was a fraud what they did.
Will you meet with Prime Minister Carney during this trip?
I don't have any intention of it now.
This as he threatened a 10% tariff hike on Canadian goods, though short on specifics of what sectors it would hit.
Prime Minister, when do you plan to talk to the President?
Carney still has not spoken to him, but he did address the situation.
The Government of Canada stands ready to build on the progress that we had been making in our negotiations, our discussions with our American counterparts.
In a trade war, you need a general, not 13 of them.
This business group saying the federal government must get on speaking terms again soon with the giant next door before figuring out partnerships oceans away.
But I've said to the Prime Minister and the government very clearly, your first job is to stabilize the relationship with the United States of America.
But observers of the growing Southeast Asian market say it should not be ignored.
They collectively represent about 667 million people. It's a large opportunity for us because they have a growing middle class, a growing economy.
The Canadian government says it is looking to sign a free trade agreement with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations by the end of 2026. The year, incidentally, when its existing deal with the U.S. and Mexico, CUSMA, is scheduled for review. Rafi Bujikanian, CBC News, Kuala Lumpur.
Here's a live shot of downtown looking north towards Burrard Inlet and the North Shore. While a relentless fall storm it was, yesterday's blustery weather blew right through most of today as well. We'll see what's on tap for the week ahead coming up next. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
Join CBC's Leanne Young at the Alumni UBC Achievement Awards, November 6th. The event honors members of the UBC community through their endeavors and commitment to help shape a better world. And the Chutzpah Festival returns November 12th to 23rd with an exciting lineup of performances, including dance, music, theater, and more. For tickets, visit chutzpahfestival.com.
And let's take a look at your work week forecast. That fall storm really took a while budging. You can see here how it played out with that low pressure system finally dissipating, but it did take a while. And if you don't like what we had on the weekend, close your eyes. We do have another system that's set to slam the south coast, but that's not until probably Tuesday. So enjoy some breaks of sun. Hopefully we'll get them come Monday. But in the meantime, here's our forecast overnight. You can see those overnight lows dipping well below freezing in areas throughout the interior. So if there is any precipitation, it will come down as snow. Be careful on those highway passes as well. Fort St. John does have a snowfall warning in effect as well. That's through the morning hours. And taking a look at our highs for tomorrow, still a chilly one across most of BC. Those showers will continue, not the inundated rain like we saw this weekend, but still a chance of those wet flurries will continue tomorrow and then the next few days as well. Kind of some on again, off again rain. Sunny breaks as promised. You've been very patient. Should come Wednesday and Thursday, and still in those double digits, at least for Metro Vancouver. And that is your late news for this Sunday, October 26th. For news anytime, anywhere, you can always head to our website. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition. That's on CBC Radio 1 starting tomorrow morning at 5:30. And now we leave you with scenes from the All Hallows Festival in Osoyoos this weekend. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.